John, a man who had built a fortune from scratch, was used to having everything under control. His life was a meticulously planned masterpiece, and the final, most beautiful piece was about to be put in place: his marriage to the seemingly perfect Isabella. She was beautiful, charming, and everyone adored her. But on the day he decided to come home early, the entire picture shattered. He had bought a stunning diamond necklace, a pre-wedding surprise. He walked into his mansion, the silence unusual. He expected to hear music or perhaps Isabella on the phone laughing. Instead, a muffled sound reached his ears. It was his 6-year-old son, Leo, crying. Not the usual cry of a scraped knee, but a cry of fear and distress. His heart pounded. He followed the sound to the playroom, his steps silent on the thick carpet. He pushed the door open just a crack, and what he saw froze him in his tracks. Isabella stood over Leo, her face a mask of cold fury he had never seen before. "Stop your pathetic whining!" she hissed, her voice sharp and cruel. "You are just a spoiled little brat. Once I'm married to your father, things are going to change. You won't be the center of his world anymore." Leo, clutching a small toy car, looked up at her, his big eyes filled with tears and confusion. "But Daddy loves me," he whispered. Isabella let out a harsh laugh. "Oh, he loves me more, and soon you'll be out of the picture. Maybe a nice, faraway boarding school will be just the thing for you." She snatched the toy car from his hand. "This is a stupid toy anyway. You need to grow up." John felt a surge of rage so pure and powerful it almost blinded him. All the smiles, the sweet words, the public displays of affection. It was all a performance. This was the real Isabella. A woman who could look at a defenseless child, his child, and see only an obstacle. The diamond necklace in his pocket suddenly felt like a heavy, worthless stone. He didn't storm in. He didn't shout. The cold fury inside him crystallized into a calm, deadly resolve. He quietly backed away from the door, his mind racing. He had seen the truth, and there was no going back. The wedding, the future he had planned with her, it all evaporated like a mirage. There was only one thing that mattered: his son. He walked back to the main hall, his footsteps now deliberate and loud. "Isabella! Leo! I'm home early!" he called out, his voice deceptively cheerful. A moment later, Isabella appeared, her face once again the perfect mask of sweetness. "John, darling, what a wonderful surprise!" She rushed to kiss him, but he subtly turned his head so her lips landed on his cheek. "I was just playing with Leo," she said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "Oh, really?" John said, his gaze level. "Because I heard crying. It sounded like you were doing anything but playing." Isabella's smile faltered for a fraction of a second. "Oh, you know how children are. He had a little tantrum over a toy. It's all sorted now." Just then, Leo appeared behind her, his eyes red and puffy. He saw John and his face lit up with relief. He ran and threw his arms around his father's legs, burying his face in his trousers. John scooped him up, holding him tight. "It's okay, buddy. Daddy's here," he whispered, kissing the top of his head. John looked over Leo's shoulder at Isabella. The mask was slipping. He could see the flicker of panic in her eyes. "You know, Isabella?" he said, his voice dropping to a low, serious tone. "I think it's time we had a talk, about honesty, and about what it means to be part of a family." He led her into the grand living room, the one that was supposed to host their wedding reception in just a few weeks. He sat down on the plush sofa, still holding Leo, who refused to let go. "What's this about, John?" Isabella asked, trying to sound breezy. "You're being so dramatic." "Am I?" John looked her straight in the eye. "I heard you, Isabella. I heard every single word you said to my son in the playroom." The color drained from her face. She opened her mouth to speak, to deny, to explain, but no words came out. The mask was completely gone, replaced by a look of pure, unadulterated shock and fear. She was caught. "You told my son he was a pathetic, spoiled brat," John continued, his voice dangerously quiet. "You threatened to send him away. You told a 6-year-old child that his father loved you more and that he would soon be out of the picture." He shook his head slowly. "I thought I knew you. I thought you were the person who would love my son as your own. But that was all a lie, wasn't it?" Isabella finally found her voice, but it was shrill and desperate. "John, you don't understand. He was being difficult. I was just trying to discipline him. You weren't there, you didn't see. I saw enough. John cut her off, his voice like ice. I saw a woman I don't know. A cruel, manipulative person who would hurt a child to get what she wants. And what you want is my money, isn't it? My lifestyle. Leo was just an inconvenience you had to tolerate until the wedding. Tears started streaming down Isabella's face, but they weren't the tears of remorse. They were tears of frustration, of a plan gone wrong. That's not true. I love you, John. We can work this out. I'll be better with Leo, I promise. John let out a short, humorless laugh. He looked down at Leo, who was now watching the exchange with wide, comprehending eyes. He gently wiped a lingering tear from his son's cheek. No, Isabella. There's nothing to work out. The wedding is off. Everything is off. He stood up. My lawyers will be in touch with you regarding the termination of our engagement. You have 1 hour to pack a bag with your personal belongings. My security will escort you out. The rest of your things will be sent to you. Isabella stared at him, her mouth agape. You can't do this. The invitations have been sent. What will everyone say? Frankly, I don't care what anyone says, John said, his voice final. The only person's opinion that matters to me right now is this little boy in my arms. You showed me who you really are, Isabella, and for that, in a strange way, I should thank you. You saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life. He turned his back on her, carrying Leo out of the room without a second glance. He walked past the engagement photos on the wall, past the lavish flower arrangements that had been delivered that morning, and headed straight for the kitchen. Hey, buddy, he said softly to Leo. How about we forget all this and make the biggest, messiest ice cream sundae the world has ever seen? A small, genuine smile finally broke through on Leo's face. With extra sprinkles? He asked, his voice still a bit shaky. With all the sprinkles in the world, John replied, his heart swelling with a love so fierce it eclipsed everything else. In that moment, surrounded by the shambles of his broken engagement, holding his son, he had never felt richer. He had lost a fiancée, but he had protected his world. And that was a trade he would make every single time. The truth had a high price, but a father's love was simply priceless. Thanks for watching our story today. If you were moved by this father's love, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content. See you next time.